I never thought I'd be the cautionary tale older Omegas whispered about at office parties. At 40, I'd built a life I could be proud of. Senior architect at one of Seoul's top firms. A sleek apartment in Gangnam with floor-to-ceiling windows. Suppressants so reliable I hadn't had a heat in 15 years. I was safe. Controlled. Alone, yes, but that was the price of never being hurt again. Then Kang Minho walked into the conference room. 25. An alpha intern who smiled at me like I was something worth looking at. I should have known better. I did know better. But when he lingered after the client meeting, asking about my design philosophy with genuine curiosity, something in my chest cracked. "You're incredible," he said, and I told myself he meant my work. The company dinner 3 weeks later was my undoing. Soju flowed too freely, and Minho somehow ended up beside me, his thigh warm against mine under the table. When his hand brushed my wrist, I felt it, a flutter of heat I hadn't experienced in years. Impossible. I was on suppressants. Industrial-strength suppressants that cost more than most people's rent. Jinhwan aside, Minho whispered, his voice dropping an octave. "You don't look well." I wasn't. Sweat beaded on my forehead. My skin felt too tight. The Omega in me, the part I'd locked away after Sungjae shattered my heart and rejected our bond, was clawing its way to the surface. "I need to leave," I managed, standing too quickly. The room spun. Minho caught my elbow. "Let me take you home." I should have refused. Should have called a cab, locked myself in my apartment, weathered whatever malfunction my body was having. Instead, I nodded. The cab ride was torture. Every breath filled with Minho's scent, cedar and rain, and something uniquely him that made my suppressant-addled instincts scream alpha, safe, home. His hand stayed on my back, steadying me, and I wanted to curl into his touch like I was 25 again and hadn't learned that alphas leave. "I'm sorry," I whispered as we stumbled into my apartment. "This hasn't happened in." "Shoo." Minho cupped my face, his eyes dark with concern and something else. Something hungry. "What do you need?" The truth clawed up my throat. "God help me, I need you." What happened next was a blur of heat and desperation. Minho was gentle even as I begged him not to be. He kept asking if I was sure, if this was okay, even as my body threatened to combust from need. For 3 days, my heat consumed us both. On the 4th morning, I woke up alone. Relief and devastation warred in my chest. Of course he'd left. What 25-year-old alpha wanted to deal with a heat-drunk older Omega who'd probably embarrassed himself 1,000 ways? I found the note on my kitchen counter. Had to get to work. "Are you okay? We should talk." Minho. His number was written below in careful, hopeful handwriting. I threw the note away. For 2 weeks, I avoided him. Took meetings off-site. Worked from home. Ignored his texts that progressed from concerned to confused to hurt. I told myself I was doing us both a favor. He was an intern with his whole life ahead of him. I was a bitter 40-year-old Omega who'd learned the hard way that fairy tales were for other people. Then my assistant brought me coffee one morning, and the smell made me bolt for the bathroom. "No," I whispered to my reflection after the 3rd morning in a row. "No, no, no." The pregnancy test I bought from 3 different pharmacies all said the same thing. Positive. Impossible, the doctor had said years ago after Sungjae left. "Your bond rejection trauma and suppressant use have likely made you infertile." Apparently, likely wasn't definitely. I sat on my bathroom floor for an hour, test in hand, and laughed until I cried. At 40 years old, pregnant by an intern 15 years my junior after a heat I shouldn't have had. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. I decided not to tell him. I'd handle this alone, like I handled everything. I had money, resources, a good doctor. Minho could go live his life, none the wiser. But at my first ultrasound, staring at the tiny flutter on the screen, something shifted. This baby hadn't asked to be created from my mistakes. And maybe they deserved a father who wanted them, even if that father was too young and I was too old and nothing about this made sense. I texted Minho, "Can we meet?" He showed up at the cafe in 15 minutes, breathless and anxious. Still so young, I thought. Still so hopeful. I thought you were avoiding me, he said, sliding into the booth across from me. I couldn't meet his eyes. This is complicated. Jinhwan SSI, if I did something wrong during your heat, I'm pregnant. The words dropped between us like a grenade. Minho's mouth opened. His sense spiked with shock, then something else. Fear? No, wonder. That's how. The usual way, I said dryly. Look, I know this isn't what you signed up for. You're 25. An intern. I'm not asking you for anything. I want to be involved. Now it was my turn to stare. What? I want to be involved, Minho repeated, leaning forward. His hand crossed the table, hovering near mine but not quite touching. If you're keeping it. Are you keeping it? Was I? I'd spent so many years convinced I'd never have this. Yes. Then I want to be there. For everything. Appointments, decisions, all of it. His voice cracked slightly. I know I'm young. I know this is insane. But that's my baby too, and I can't just walk away. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But I'd heard pretty words before. Minho, you don't understand what you're saying? Then help me understand. His hand finally covered mine, warm and solid. Please. Let's figure this out together. Together. The word felt foreign in my mouth. But looking at his earnest face, his alpha instincts clearly screaming at him to protect and provide, I found myself nodding. Okay, I whispered. Together. We were both lying. I could see it in the tightness around his eyes, feel it in my own chest. Neither of us knew what together meant. Neither of us believed this could work. But we were going to try anyway. What could possibly go wrong? Dating while pregnant at 40 felt like performing surgery on myself. Painful, surreal, and possibly fatal. Minho tried. God, he tried so hard it made my chest ache. Coffee dates where he'd researched pregnancy nutrition. Walks along the Han River where he'd hold my hand like I was precious. Late night calls when insomnia and anxiety kept me awake, his voice soft and patient as I spiraled about everything that could go wrong. But reality had sharp teeth. Is that your son? A woman asked at the ultrasound clinic, gesturing to Minho. I wanted to disappear into the floor. Minho's hand tightened on mine. I'm the father, he said firmly, but his voice wavered. At work, the whispers started around week 12 when I couldn't hide it anymore. I'd catch my colleagues' eyes darting to my stomach, then to Minho when he'd visit with lunch. The judgment was a physical weight. I heard he's 25, someone said in the bathroom, not realizing I was in a stall. Can you imagine? At his age, going after someone old enough to be his mother. I pressed my hand to my mouth to keep from making a sound. They thought I'd seduced him. Trapped him. Maybe they were right. We should tell my parents, Minho said one evening at my apartment. He was cooking, badly, while I pretended to review blueprints. They'll want to know about the baby. My stomach dropped. Do we have to? Jinhwan, they're going to be grandparents. We can't hide this forever. He turned from the stove, spatula in hand, looking so young in his casual clothes. It'll be fine. They'll love you. I doubted that intensely. The dinner was set for Saturday. I spent the entire week having panic attacks. What did one wear to meet their 25-year-old boyfriend's parents when you were 40, pregnant, and older than? How old are your parents? I asked Minho on Friday night. Dad's 47. Myung, my stepmom, is 38. She raised me since I was 5, so she's really my mom. He said it casually, not noticing how the blood drained from my face. 38. 2 years younger than me. I was older than the woman who'd raised him. I nearly canceled. Actually drafted the text. But Minho's hopeful face stopped me. He wanted this to work so badly, and I was tired of being afraid. Their house in Songbukdong screamed old money. Traditional Hanok exterior, modern interior, garden that probably cost more than my apartment. I smoothed my dress over my 4-month bump and wished I could evaporate. Minho's father opened the door. Tall, stern, with gray at his temples. His eyes went straight to my stomach, then to my face. Something cold flickered there. Father, this is Lee Jinhwan. Jinhwan, my father, Kang Minho. Sir. I bowed, probably too low, definitely too nervous. Come in, he said. Not warm. Not cold. Waiting. Minho appeared from the kitchen, and my worst fears materialized. She was beautiful, elegant, poised, and yes, younger than me. Her eyes widened when she saw me, a flash of shock she quickly concealed. Oh, she said. Just that. Dinner was agony. Every bite of japchae tasted like ash. Minho asked polite questions about my work, my family, my plans, with a smile that never reached her eyes. Minho was worse, silent, assessing, his disappointment radiating across the table. How old are you, Jinhwan SSI? Minho asked, voice sweet as poisoned honey. 40. Her chopsticks paused. 40. And Minho is? 25, Minho said tightly. We've discussed this. Of course. Minho smiled. It's just surprising. I'm 38 myself, and I can't imagine being in a relationship with someone Minho's age. The generational gap must be challenging. The subtext was clear. I'm younger than you, and even I think this is inappropriate. We manage, I said quietly, pushing food around my plate. Do you? Minho spoke for the first time since we'd sat down. Minho, you're at the start of your career. You should be focused on your future, not. He gestured vaguely at me. Not what, father? Not starting a family? Not throwing your life away. Minho's palm hit the table. You're 25 years old. You should be dating people your own age, building your career, not playing house with. Don't. Minho's voice was sharp, but I heard the waver underneath. Jinhwan is the father of your grandchild. Show some respect. Respect? Minho laughed softly. Minho, we're trying to help you see clearly. This man is 15 years older than you. He should have known better than to. Than to what? I asked, finding my voice. Seduce him? Trap him? Is that what you think happened? The silence was deafening. I think, Minho said carefully, that people with more life experience should be more responsible in their choices. The implication was clear. This was my fault. All of it. I stood, chair scraping. Excuse me. I need some air. I made it to the garden before the tears came. Pressed my hands to my face, trying to breathe through the shame. They were right. I was too old for this. Too old for Minho. Too old to be starting over. Too old to believe in happy endings. Jinhwan. Minho's voice behind me. Don't. I couldn't look at him. I heard what your father said in there. After I'd left, apparently Minho had been clearer. Cut ties now. The family would support the child financially, but Minho needed to move on. Find someone appropriate. Stop this embarrassment. He threatened to cut me off if I don't end this, Minho admitted. The trust fund, my position at the company, all of it. Something in my chest shattered. Then you should do it. What? I turned to face him, tears streaming. I'm giving you an out, Minho. Take it. You're 25. You should be free, not shackled to someone your parents' age with a baby you didn't plan for. Is that what you think this is? A shackle? Isn't it? The words tore out of me. Be honest. How many times have you regretted that night? How many times have you looked at me and thought about what your life could have been? His silence was answer enough. We can co-parent, I continued, voice breaking. You can be in the baby's life without being trapped in mine. Your parents will accept that. You can find someone your own age, someone who... Stop. But his voice lacked conviction. Minho, I'm 40 years old. I'm older than the woman who raised you. People think you're my son. Your parents hate me. And you can't even deny that you've had doubts. He opened his mouth. Closed it. The truth hung between us, ugly and undeniable. Maybe you're right, he finally whispered. Maybe this is too hard. Each word was a knife. I nodded, wrapping my arms around my stomach. I'll text you about the next appointment. We can figure out custody arrangements after the baby comes. I walked past him, through the house where his parents watched with barely concealed relief, and out into the night. Alone again. Like I'd always been meant to be. 2 months of coordinated calendar notifications and sterile text messages. That's what Minho and I became. Appointment Tuesday, 2 p.m. each. We'll be there. We sat in waiting rooms like strangers, him scrolling his phone, me pretending to read parenting books. The doctor would call us in, we'd see our baby, growing, healthy, perfect, and I'd feel Minho's longing like a physical ache beside me. Then we'd leave separately. Professional. Civil. Dying inside. I threw myself into work with manic intensity. The Gangnam Tower project needed a complete redesign. I'd work until midnight. Client wanted impossible revisions? I'd make them happen. My colleagues stopped inviting me to lunch. I told myself I preferred it that way. At night, I'd come home and assemble the crib alone. Read parenting books alone. Feel the baby kick and have no one to share it with. This was what I'd chosen. Independence. Safety. The familiar ache of solitude. It was fine. I was fine. The breaking point came at a birthing class. My doctor had insisted I attend. You need to prepare, she'd said firmly. First-time parent at 40, you should know what to expect. I'd assumed it would be educational videos and breathing exercises. I hadn't expected to be the only person there without a partner. 8 couples arranged on yoga mats, all younger than me, all holding hands and giggling nervously. The instructor, a cheerful Omega named Jinhwan, smiled at me. And you are? Lee Jinhwan. Here alone. That's fine. We're happy to have you. But his eyes held pity. The class was torture. We practiced labor positions, everyone's partner supporting them from behind while I used the wall. Learned breathing techniques. Couples locked eyes and breathed together while I stared at the ceiling. Discussed birth plans, everyone excitedly talking about who would cut the cord while I tried not to cry. Now, Jinhwan said, let's talk about the immediate postpartum period. Those first few weeks are exhausting. You'll need help. What if you don't have help? I asked before I could stop myself. The room went quiet. 8 couples stared at me with varying degrees of sympathy and confusion. Well, that's challenging, Jinhwan said carefully. Do you have family? Friends who could stay with you? My parents were in Busan, elderly and barely speaking to me after I'd told them about the pregnancy. My friends had drifted away over the years of self-imposed isolation. And Minho, I'll manage, I said. But walking to my car afterward, I finally let myself admit the truth. I couldn't do this alone. Didn't want to do this alone. I'd been so focused on protecting myself from potential hurt that I'd guaranteed my own misery. I sat in the parking lot and pulled out my phone. Stared at Minho's contact. My thumb hovered over the call button for 10 minutes before I chickened out and drove home. The next appointment was our 7-month ultrasound. Minho arrived looking terrible, dark circles under his eyes, rumpled clothes, like he hadn't slept in days. He barely looked at me. Look at that. The technician pointed at the screen. Babies sucking their thumb. Want to know the sex? Yes, Minho and I said simultaneously, then looked at each other for the first time in weeks. It's a boy, she said warmly. A healthy, active boy. A son. I was going to have a son. The image on the screen blurred as tears filled my eyes. Jinhwan. Minho's voice was soft. Concerned. I'm fine, I lied, wiping my face. Just hormones. The technician printed photos and left us alone. Minho stood there, clutching his copy of the ultrasound, looking lost. A boy, he said quietly. We're having a son. Yes. Have you thought about names? Some. I'd filled an entire notebook actually, then felt pathetic for doing it alone. You. Yeah. He stopped, jaw working. Can we talk? Really talk? Not here, but please. I should have said no. Should have maintained our careful distance. Instead, I nodded. We ended up at a cafe near the hospital, sitting across from each other with untouched drinks between us. Minho looked at his coffee like it held answers. I went to see my parents, he said finally. 3 days ago. Told them I was done listening to their opinions about my life. My heart stuttered. Minho, let me finish. He looked up and his eyes were raw. I told my father that cutting me off wouldn't change anything. That I loved you and I loved our son And if they couldn't accept that, then we didn't need to be in each other's lives. What did he say? He said I was throwing away my future for a midlife crisis Omega who'd trapped me. Minho's voice hardened. I told him you were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I was the idiot who'd let you go. Then I left. I couldn't breathe. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. I should have done it 2 months ago at that dinner. But I was scared and weak, and I let you walk away thinking I didn't want this. He reached across the table, stopping just short of touching my hand. I've been miserable, Jinhwan. I miss you. I miss us. I miss feeling our son kick and talking about baby names and just being together. Your family is wrong, he said firmly. My father will come around eventually, or he won't. But I'm not living my life according to his approval anymore. I'm 25, not 15. And I choose you. The words I'd needed to hear 2 months ago. For now. I went to a birthing class yesterday, I said quietly. I was the only one there alone. Everyone else had partners to help them practice, to support them, to plan with them. And I realized, my voice cracked. I realized I did this to myself. You tried, Minho. After your parents' dinner, you were confused and scared, but you didn't actually say you wanted out. I said it for you. I pushed you away because I was too afraid of being hurt later. You were protecting yourself. I was being a coward, I interrupted. I'm 40 years old and I'm still letting a bond rejection from 15 years ago control my life. I'm still assuming every alpha will leave, so I leave first. But you, I finally looked at him fully. You've shown up to every appointment. You text me articles about pregnancy. You tried to be there even when I froze you out. And I threw it away because I was scared. Minho's hand finally covered mine. So we were both scared and both stupid. Can we be scared and stupid together instead of apart? I laughed, tears streaming. What if this doesn't work? What if? Then we'll figure it out, he said. But Jinhwan, these past 2 months have been the worst of my life. I don't want to co-parent from a distance. I don't want sterile text messages and awkward waiting rooms. I want to come home to you. I want to feel him kick at 2 a.m. I want to argue about baby names and whose turn it is to do laundry and whether we're reading too many parenting books. I want that too, I whispered. So much it terrifies me. Could be terrified with me. He squeezed my hand. Move in together. Really together. Let me take care of you and let me mess it up sometimes and let us figure out how to be a family. Your parents will hate it. My father already cut me off. The trust fund, the company position, all gone. He smiled and it was genuine. And you know what? I feel free. I got a job at a smaller firm. The pay's less, but it's mine. My choice. Like this is my choice. I looked at this young alpha who'd given up his inheritance for me, who'd fought his family for us, who was looking at me like I was worth every sacrifice. Okay, I said. Just move in. Let's be terrified together. His smile could have lit the city. Really? Really? But I'm keeping my apartment for now. Just in case. In case you need to escape my terrible cooking, he teased. In case I need space when you inevitably drive me crazy. Fair. He stood, pulling me up with him. Can I hug you? I've wanted to hug you for 2 months. I walked into his arms and it felt like coming home. His scent wrapped around me, cedar and rain and safety, and our son kicked between us, as if approving. He's excited, Minho laughed, his hand joining mine on my stomach. Or annoyed we took so long to figure this out. Smart kid. Minho kissed my forehead. Takes after his father. Which one? Both, he said firmly. He'll be stubborn like you and impulsive like me. We're going to be in so much trouble. Standing there in that cafe, his arms around me and our son moving between us, I let myself believe it. We'd be okay. Not perfect, not easy, but okay. Together. Minho moved in on a Saturday, carrying 3 boxes and a duffel bag. This is everything? I asked, staring at his meager belongings stacked in my pristine living room. He shrugged, looking younger than ever in his worn jeans and university hoodie. My father kept everything else. The apartment was his, the furniture, even most of my clothes. But I don't need any of it. The casual way he said it, like he hadn't just lost everything, made my chest tight. Minho. Don't. He kissed my forehead. I made my choice. No regrets. But I saw him that night, sitting on the edge of our bed, still so strange, staring at his phone. A text from his stepmother glowed on the screen. Your father is hurt. Don't you care about this family? You can respond, I said softly from the doorway. He turned off the phone. I already said everything I needed to say. The first week was awkward. Minho burned eggs and set off the smoke alarm twice. I reorganized the kitchen after him obsessively. We danced around each other in the bathroom, overly polite, like strangers playing house. You don't have to ask permission to shower, I finally said on day 5. You live here now. Right. I don't want to intrude. You're having a baby with me. I think we're past intrusion. He laughed and some of the tension broke. That night, he fell asleep with his hand on my stomach, our son kicking against his palm, and it felt almost real. The therapy started in my 8th month, at my doctor's insistence. You two need to learn to communicate, she'd said, before the baby comes and stress multiplies everything. Dr. Yoon was a middle-aged beta with kind eyes and no patience for bullshit. Our first session, she made us each share our biggest fear. That I'll fail them, Minho said immediately. That I'm too young, too inexperienced, and I'll mess up our son the way I've already messed up everything else. I stared at him. He'd never said that before. Jinhwan. Dr. Yoon prompted. That he'll leave, I whispered. That one day he'll wake up and realize he's wasted his 20s on someone old and broken, and he'll resent me. Resent our son. I would never, Minho started. Let him finish, Dr. Yoon said gently. My ex-alpha rejected our bond, I continued, the words scraping my throat raw. We were together for 3 years. He promised forever. Then one day he looked at me and said he couldn't do it anymore. The bond rejection nearly killed me, physically. I was hospitalized for weeks. And I've been terrified of alphas ever since. I looked at Minho. Terrified of you, even though you've never given me a reason to be. His eyes were wet. I'm not him. I know. But my body doesn't always believe what my brain knows. We spent 6 sessions unpacking our fears, our communication failures, our different love languages. Minho learned that I needed words of affirmation constantly. I learned that he needed physical touch to feel secure. We both learned that we'd been silently suffering, assuming the other knew things we'd never actually said. Tell him, Dr. Yoon said during session 4. The thing you're most afraid to say. I looked at Minho, heart hammering. I love you. I've loved you since that first night, and it terrifies me because loving you means you can destroy me. His hand found mine. I love you too. And I'm scared every day that I'm not enough for you. That you'll realize you deserve someone better, someone your own age who has their life together. You are enough, I said fiercely. You're more than enough. Dr. Yoon smiled. Say that to each other every day. Out loud. No assumptions. The confrontation with Minho's parents came in my 9th month, when I was huge and uncomfortable and had no patience left for pretense. They showed up at our apartment unannounced. I opened the door to find Minho's father and stepmother on the threshold, looking uncomfortable. We need to talk to our son, Do-hyun said stiffly. He's at work. He'll be home in an hour. Then we'll wait. Myung pushed past me into the apartment. I should have been gracious. Instead, 9 months of hormones and hurt made me sharp. Make yourselves at home in the life you tried to destroy. Do-hyun's jaw tightened. We were protecting him. From what? Happiness? A family? From making a mistake that would ruin his future, Myung snapped. You're 40 years old. You should have known better than to get involved with someone so young. You're right, I said, and watched surprise flicker across her face. I should have been more careful. I should have thought about the consequences. But I didn't trap him. He chose this. He keeps choosing this, despite you doing everything possible to make him doubt himself. Because he's too young to understand. I'm 26 now, Minho's voice came from the doorway. Neither of us had heard him come in. Not 25. My birthday was last month. You'd know that if you'd returned any of my calls. Myung's face crumpled. Mihoya. You missed my birthday. You've missed every appointment, every ultrasound, every moment of your grandson's life. His voice was steady but his hand shook as he took mine. Because you couldn't accept that I chose differently than you wanted. We're trying to accept it now, Do-hyun said gruffly. Your mother, Myung, has been miserable. She raised you. She wants to be in her grandson's life. Then she needs to respect his father, Minho said firmly. Both of his fathers. That means no more comments about age or appropriateness or mistakes. Jinhwan is my partner. I love him. If you can't accept that, then you're choosing not to be in our lives. Silence stretched. Then Myung spoke, voice small. I'm sorry. I was jealous, I think. You're my son, and suddenly this man was taking you away, and he was my age and I thought. She stopped. It doesn't matter what I thought. I was wrong. Jinhwan sigh. I apologize for my behavior. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't everything I wanted. But it was something. Thank you, I said quietly. They left soon after, promising to call, to visit, to try. Minho and I stood in our living room, his arms around me and our son kicking vigorously between us. That was terrifying, he admitted. You were amazing. I meant what I said. If they can't respect you, they don't get to be in our lives. I turned in his arms. I love you. You're enough. You're everything. He smiled, the words we'd practiced with Dr. Yoon becoming easier each time. I love you. You're not broken. You're the strongest person I know. Our son kicked hard and we both laughed. Labor started 3 weeks later at 2 a.m. Minho was calm, gathering bags, timing contractions, getting me to the hospital, while I panicked. 16 hours later, our son arrived screaming and perfect. 3.2 kilograms of fury with Minho's nose and my stubborn expression. He's beautiful, Minho sobbed, cutting the cord with shaking hands. Jinhwan, he's perfect. They placed our son on my chest, and I felt everything shift. This tiny person who'd been abstract became real, someone to protect, to love, to build a life around. Kang Jae-woo, I said, naming him after both our grandfathers. Our Jae-woo. 3 months later, I was pushing a stroller through Olympic Park when a woman stopped me. Your grandson is adorable, she cooed at Jae-woo. Before I could correct her, Minho appeared with coffee, slipping his arm around my waist. That's our son, actually. The woman's eyes widened, taking in our ages, doing the math. Her expression shifted to judgment. Yes, our son, I said clearly, meeting her gaze. And we're very happy. She walked away quickly. Minho squeezed my waist. You okay? I looked at him, this young alpha who'd given up everything for us. Then down at Jai was sleeping peacefully in his stroller. My family. Messy, imperfect, and absolutely mine. I'm perfect, I said and meant it. We walked through the park together, Minho pushing the stroller while I leaned into his warmth. People stared. Some smiled. Some judged. I didn't care anymore. This was my life. Our life. And it was exactly what I'd stopped letting myself dream of. Finally, blessedly,